All right, Gene Burnett from geneburnett.com. Hey, I thought we'd talk a little bit today, or we would talk a little bit today about something that has been really working for me as a practice technique, and I just thought I would share it to see if anybody else enjoys it like I do. It's something that reminds me of a praying mantis. So I call it kind of mantis-like or mantis-type movements. I hesitate because in the martial art world, mantis means a Chinese kung fu style where you move like a, literally, you move like a praying mantis, and it's not that. It's not like official mantis style. It's something I've observed in actual praying mantises. And if you know about evolution, it's also interesting that chameleons do the same thing that I'm talking about. You know, chameleons with the eyes that look like cones and look around. They're slow moving, African usually, or Asian also, lizards. And this is called coevolution, when two species entirely different develop the same strategy or the same way of doing something. This is an interesting feature because, boy, you couldn't get, reptiles and insects are so far apart, it's unbelievable. I think a reptile might have more in common with a blade of grass than it does with a praying mantis. But what they do is when they're on the branch, and you might see this, you'll see a praying mantis be on a branch, and you'll see them on the branch and they'll go. They'll move their body back and forth like this, and then take a step, and they'll move their body back and forth. And you see the chameleon too. It'll grab, and it'll move its body back and forth like this, and it'll step, and it'll go back and forth like that. And the theory is that they're moving like that to blend in with the motion of the grass or the branch or the tree or shrub that they're in, so that their prey, it doesn't pick them up as a distinctly different thing. They're not this still thing moving in this jiggly world. They're jiggling along with everything else, and so they're fitting into a natural rhythm and a way of moving, so that insects, which is the prey of both of them, insects and are the basic prey of chameleons and of praying mantises. So that's their main meal. And so apparently insects are triggered by things that don't do this. So they walk like that. So the idea is, in the form, you do a piece of the movement and then you reverse it. So you go forward and back and forward and back, and you kind of, if it was painting, it would be putting some paint on the wall and then going back and putting some paint and going back. It's like painting like that. It's not a great way to paint, but that's kind of the idea of it. So the movement would be like, if I'm practicing in this way, I come to, say, a holding the ball type position, and I push off and I come back. And I push and come back. Don't worry about how I do this versus how you do it. That's not important. This is just a general idea. You can apply it to your version, even if you think my version is totally wrong. You go forward and back. So I'm learning to reverse the movement. I'm gradually going more and more forward until I feel like, okay, now I can complete that movement. And say if in my form I've got a little counter turn that starts before I go that way, so I might just do that turn a couple times. Right, push and turn, and then come back, and then go to the other side. So I might do it in pieces like this. I'm learning to kind of reverse the movement. I'm not throwing myself into these movements. I'm doing it in a way that I can go back and forth, which is a nice, slightly isometric way to move. Gives you a nice sense of the potential power in these movements instead of just the looseness and the flow. There's also power there, so you shift and then make the connection and then turn. And I might just do little pieces of the movement, or I might actually pause and loosen my joints and make sure I might do a posture check or just make sure things are loose there, and then do a part of it and a part of it and a part of it and a part of it, and then turn and down, so I could reverse that a little bit. So any movement that you can do and then reverse that movement is a movement that you know. You can understand it much better if you understand how to reverse it, right? And then finally let it go. So even bigger, more sweeping movements all the way across, right? I can sweep part of the way and then go back. More of the way and then back. More of the way and then pulling. Here's pulling. So I'm feeling like pull, pull, pull. Here, right? Now turning without twisting the knee. So I'm doing that. Turning is here, not here. And then issuing off that leg, off, more, there. Nice. And then lifting this one. So, oh, how does that feel? Hang out there, go up and down, like the mantis, back and forth, right? So when I stepped, right, reverse it, shift. Remember, don't worry about my version versus your version. Every Tai Chi system has its own version of these things, so it doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is studying the movement in little pieces that you're nudging forward and maintaining a little bit of isometric, a little bit of feeling of resistance so that you can, that helps you reverse it. It's like you were lifting something and it suddenly got much heavier and then you went back again and you were stronger, right? So you're kind of massaging the movements as you go. And man, it is work, and it's amazing. It takes me much longer to do a given form or a given section of the form when I do it this way. It definitely slows it down. And you know, our form is pretty long, so you know, sometimes I'll just do one section this way, and it'll take me 20 minutes, depending on how micro I want to get with the. I can get real micro with the movements. They can just swell and de-swell, or they can go a little bit further. And sometimes, every once in a while I'm doing this, I'll just suddenly let the movement go and do a flow, a couple of movements with just the flow, and it feels, wow, it feels so thorough. It feels so complete because I've sort of painted the kinetic chain so thoroughly in doing it slow and in little pieces and measuring it that way, that when I actually just let that go and do it, it's like, oh, that feels really thorough and complete. It feels really nice. And especially the one-legged stuff, to break that, there. Any step you take, if you can take that step back, that's really nice. Not be committed out there. You can actually put it down and take it back if you need to. And then shift, there, and feel that cross body. You can study the kinetics and the power chains and the neutralizing chains and the pushing and pulling and rearing and all these things. You can study them in more detail by just doing a little chameleon action, go forward and back. Plus, you have the benefit of when you practice this way, you don't alarm insects. So, if you want to, just snatch one and eat it, it's up to you, but they're not going to see you coming because you're working your way through the movements like this. So I think it's a great way to practice, and I do it every chance that I get, actually. In between lessons and stuff, when I have some time, I do this lately. It's just really been feeling really super great. A lot of work, and it gives you that isometric sense of activation in the body, which I really like. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I make these videos to be helpful. That's why I'm doing them. If there was no chance of a tip from any of these things, I would do it anyway. But if you do want to leave me a tip, I have a tip jar in the description of this video and all over my website, GeneBurnett.com. It's also really great to hear comments, especially that any of this stuff was useful, because that's why I'm sharing it. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Good luck with your training, and stay healthy.